My name is James White, I'm a small business sales expert, and in this video I'm going to share with you the 4 things you need to do if you've had a conversation with someone and then it's all gone quiet. Let's have a look at the video. We've all been there, as sales and business people, when we've had a great conversation with someone and we've sent them some information, probably a bit too much information, and that's part of the issue, but they've then not come back to us and we've not heard anything. What's gone on? What's happened? It seemed like it was a great conversation, but then it just went flat. And why did it happen? And what can we do to avoid it happening? In these situations, what I generally tell business owners that I work with is in most cases, there's a number of things they've not done at the right time, or they've done too much at the wrong time that's ensured that that person's then basically doesn't want to come back to them. And much of it's due to the way in which humans behave and operate. And when we get to understand the human psyche and how people are, we can actually then really start to see how they're going to apply things in certain situations and what reaction they'll give us. Becoming an expert in human psychology and how people operate is key for sales, but here's the first thing I'm going to encourage you to do when that happens. The first thing I'm going to get you to do is to go back and review the conversation that you had. If you've recorded it on Zoom or on Teams, even better. Go back and review what was said. Look through your notes and see actually how much of the other person did you get to understand and really what was going on in their world. In my experience is most salespeople are focused actually on what they say and not what the other person says. And it means that when they then have conversations, they're talking about themselves rather than the other person. And because that person's too polite to say, shut up, I'm bored, they listen, they carry on, and then they basically ignore the conversation afterwards. So go back and review and see how much of the time were you talking versus the other person was talking. Or be able to review what were the key problems and challenges and goals and desires that the other person had. And did you ask open questions that enabled them to share what they were thinking and where they were at? And did you actually at the end of the conversation summarise what they wanted to do and get them to own that situation? Those are critical factors when it comes to selling and to be able to build that first rapport. You generally can't do business on the first time you meet someone, but you can certainly lose it. So go back and review what you did. The second point that's really key about these type of meetings, and it happens when we've gone back and reflected over certain situations, is were you really good at reading the signs? I have a video about emotional sales intelligence. And one of the critical components of sales is having self-awareness so that you can actually know what someone else is trying to do or think and react accordingly to that. And what I see on a lot of cases is that people read the signs wrongly. For example, someone says, yeah, happy, yeah, that's right, but they've not really probed underneath the surface. That person's given them superficial answers or top level answers, not answers that actually really mean something to them. Most people just don't react to that. They don't react to what that person's given them in terms of signals or the signs, and they carry on regardless. And it means then that when they then go to have another conversation in time, they've misread what happened. So here's a couple of things to look out for. Look out for the way in which the other person engages you, their body language. When you mention certain areas or certain challenges, do they really react in and out of that? Do they lower their tone or keep their tone higher? What goes on with that person when you, for example, talk about a challenge? Do they be able to really show exasperation or frustration about a certain type of challenge that they're facing? We've got to be able to read the signs, and more importantly, are they open to sharing with you some of the key things they're trying to get resolved? And can we really assess whether those things are actually big factors for them or just, yeah, they're so-so? A lot of the time we all put barricades up as humans because we're afraid of being sold to. And our job as sales and business professionals is to get beneath the surface, to read the signs and say, hey, look, I sort of sense there that this isn't an issue that you really want to discuss. Just be honest with me. Tell me what you're thinking. Or being honest with me, you said yes to that, but I just didn't feel that was an area you were particularly committed to. But, tell me what you're really thinking. Sometimes when we ask those questions in the right way, we can get better reactions and responses. And it helps us then really see what that person's thinking and doing at that time. And it's better for us to know that than for us to think everything's okay and then leave the conversation and find that we don't hear anything from them afterwards. Become an expert in reading other people and the situation, and it's hopefully going to help you ensure that you don't then have a meeting with someone and then don't hear from them again. Point number 3, at the end of these conversations, when you're finding that you've had a really great conversation with someone, is to then be in a position where you try and summarise and get them to own the situation. A lot of conversations I've had with people where we've chatted about things and whatever else, and it's been a nice conversation. But what I've then tried to then get them to do is to summarise where they're at and what they want to do about it. As business and salespeople, we always want to put ourselves in control. And sometimes we have to put the other person in control in order to move that conversation forward. So once you've maybe summarised the conversation, maybe for the last half hour, ask them the open questions of what they want to do next, or how they want to move forward, or what do they want to do to get those problems and challenges resolved. Most importantly, most people will say, well, I'm really keen to get a proposal, I'm really keen to carry on the conversation, in which case then we can react accordingly and say, great, happy to do that. Let's carry on the conversation next week, or let's have a look at your diary and see when you can meet again, or I'm happy to share some information in a proposal, but let's talk about what you want to include to make sure that we get the right information to you. The key thing we've got to do is to summarise and then put them in control of the situation. Let them decide how they want to operate and move forward, knowing that we're then going to support them or not, as the case may be, at that next conversation. By summarising, what you're able to do is put them in control of the situation and enable them to suggest how they want to move forward. And if you think actually they're just being nice and by reading the signs you think they're just being polite, call that out. Say, hey, it sounds like this isn't a priority for you right now. Don't be afraid to read the situation and then respond accordingly. When you do that, you're going to avoid the situation of you trying to then get in contact with someone that doesn't want to hear from you again or doesn't want to carry on that discussion. You're better to know then than try and do it in the future and then not hear from them and get rejected and feel disillusioned as a result of that. And the fourth point, which you want to do at the end of that conversation, is then actually afterwards summarise the next steps and then add some value in the process. When I've had meetings with people, what I'd like to then do is summarise the conversation, say I've really enjoyed chatting with you, I've really assessed whether they're a potential fit, and if they are, I've made sure I've tried to get a date and time for the prospect to confirm. I've actually said to someone, look, let's arrange a time to carry on the conversation. How does next Thursday sound at 4 p.m? And I've asked them to look at their diary there and then and to see if they can get a date set. And I've actually confirmed, oh, can you just confirm the location? Or just want to check that that time works. If people are committed to working together, then they'll want to commit the time. But the best way to do that is to summarise what you've talked about. Maybe even if you can add some value, be able to indicate you mentioned this problem and here's a research article or a link that we've created that can help you deal with that. The point is, most people in a sales situation don't want to turn up at the next meeting or don't want to hear from the other person because all they think is that that salesperson is going to focus on them. When people know that you're focused on supporting them, helping them, and you really are keen to make a difference in their world, not just sell to them, then they're hopefully going to be more inclined to meet you and want to carry that conversation on. And by the way, it could just mean that they've just been busy or something's happened that's made them not come back to you there and then. So give that bit of freedom, give that bit of flexibility. Don't expect someone to react straight away that day or 2 days later. It may take them a week or two to do that. And make sure that you're not absolutely trying to hang them or chase them for not responding in that time. All you're then going to do is put people off. But if you react in the right way and respond in the right way, hopefully you're going to then see that those people do want to still engage with you and that you've got a date and time to work with them next. And if they don't, there's a great simple email that you can use, which is something like, did I do something wrong? Or have you decided not to move forward and solve that problem? Or it sounds like you're no longer interested in working with me. That's an email you can use if you've not heard from that person, maybe after 4, 6, 8 weeks, but use that at the end of the process because the chances are it may mean that you don't then get the chance to work with them, which can lose the deal that you thought was there. But these 4 things are critical when it comes to trying to ensure that a person doesn't avoid you after you've had that meeting. Review how you've approached things, learn whether you've read the signs properly, summarise with their situation and then respond so you'll be able to know what the next stages are, and hopefully it's going to help you avoid that difficult situation of someone saying, yeah, I'm really keen to meet, and then not turning up. We want to avoid that. We want to avoid being in a position where that happens so that we don't waste our time and energy and emotion chasing people that are never going to become customers. Do those 4 things after the end of a conversation. It's going to hope and ensure that your prospects don't ignore you, and it's going to lead to more opportunities that are going somewhere and that can lead to business rather than chasing things that are never going to happen. Focus on how you respond, you review, you read the signs, and be in a position to summarise, and it's going to put you in great stead to win more business. Hope that's helped you, given you some ideas of what to do, but put in the comment section below what challenges you faced. A few months back, I did a live with a prospect that watched a video that was literally saying, I've got a problem here, and then we had a half-hour conversation, and we talked about challenges they were facing, and I helped them try and solve issues in order to move things forward. I'm open to that, so put in the comment section below the sales challenges you're facing, and we'll work together to try and solve them. The most important thing is we want to avoid this happening. Know your own sales skills, get to know the prospect, and be in a position where you're following a process to operate, and it's going to put you in great stead to win more business. If you like the video, please like the channel, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button so I ensure I get videos notified to you every Saturday morning to get brilliant results.